Hello YouTube, Kevin here for Superpower Broadcasting. In this video, I'm going to be discussing Donald Trump's recent tap of Rand Paul, as I call him, Rand Dumber Than Jake Paul, to negotiate on behalf of the United States with the Islamic Republic of Iran. This is a disaster. I cannot express the extent to which this is an absolute disaster. This is the height of isolationist cuckery. This is this is a joke. This here marks the Neville Chamberlain of the 21st century. Neville Chamberlain was appointed by the British to go over and negotiate and acquire peace on behalf of Britain with Hitler. And guess what? Instead of him coming to the conclusion of we can't negotiate with this guy, he's insane, he's going to be a disaster, we should nip him in the bud and take him out now, instead of there being a minor scale war in Europe that maybe killed 1 million or 2 million people, where Britain and France united early on against Hitler and took him down before he could really build up his military prowess. Instead of doing that, he got them peace. He got Britain, he got Europe peace for a few years, and gave Hitler all of the opportunity to build up until he was ready to go to war. And when the war did happen, instead of the 2 or 3 million people dying, 50 million people died in World War II. And so that's what peace feels like. Because it's so peaceful when instead of having a victim or a casualty of a war, you have 15 times that number of casualties in a war. That's just such a peaceful status quo. That's what Neville Chamberlain did. And of course, in history, we unfortunately have to learn lessons. Well, this is a lesson that's going to have to be learned again, unfortunately, because the United States administration right now has tapped Rand Dumber Than Jake Paul to negotiate on behalf of Iran. Now, if you don't know that much about what Rand Paul stands for, well, he is a libertarian, as I call him, a libertarian, right? Because libertarianism is a joke. Now, I'm a capitalist, but I believe in a regulated market. I believe that to preserve a capitalist system that functions as it should, with a more or less free market, you have to have regulatory implementations there to preserve a competitive equilibrium. Things can get out of hand. Monopolies can consolidate if there is no regulation. Libertarianism sees a world in which we are all governed by maniacal monopolies within 20 years or so. And instead of having a tyrannical state, we have a tyrannical chaebol or keiretsu type system like they have in South Korea and Japan respectively, where once you work for a company, they provide everything and you give them your soul. And if you date somebody from an opposing company, for example, if you're at Samsung and you want to marry somebody from Hyundai, well, that might be an issue because that's going to have to get approved by your manager. I mean, that's what libertarianism, that's the end game for the libertarians. Rand Paul, he has all these pretenses of caring about liberty. Well, I have news. If you haven't been following him, he has defended the most tyrannical, anti-liberal, anti-liberty dictators out there. He has apologized on behalf of Bashar al-Assad. He has apologized on behalf of Vladimir Putin. In fact, he and the Libertarian Party of America have apologized on behalf of North Korea, the Kim dynasty. The Libertarian Party of America ran a video in which they argued that North Korea was more free than America because North Korea has legal weed and America still has criminalized marijuana in many states. That's unbelievable. That false equivalency there is insanity. It is grotesque. To argue that North Korea and America are in any way similar, to even draw that comparison in the first place is out of line. It's unacceptable. Because in North Korea, not only do they have a tyrannical legal system there, but they don't even have legal thoughts. So they might have legal weed, but if you even so much are suspected of thinking anything critical of the state, you and your family are going to the gulag for 3 generations. And in 100 years, your grandkids will still be born in the gulag and be punished in the gulag, per Kim Il Sung's 3 generations to purge the criminal blood policy that he enacted at the founding of the DPRK. This is grotesque. This is ridiculous. This guy, Rand Paul, is disgusting. And I know I'm making a video today about how he voted against giving aid, continuing aid and assistance to the victims of 9/11. This man is disgusting. I mean, I give him the nickname Rand Dumber Than Jake Paul because, well, his last name's Paul, so it works out as a nickname, right? Because you can just say Rand Dumber Than Jake Paul, and it's kind of like it sends him for two people in a way there. It's convenient. And, it's kind of silly and whatnot. But realistically, I mean, he deserves an even much more serious nickname. He is grotesque. I mean, he is the worst of the worst, basically. I mean, he's on the same level as Tanky Tulsi Gabbard. He's basically the right-wing Tanky Tulsi. He's a disgrace. I mean, he's a joke, he's a clown, and all of that. But this is serious, and this has serious consequences. And it's not that funny if you are a family member of somebody who was killed or first responder of 9/11. That is not funny that Rand Paul is a representative. That Rand Paul gets a say in these matters. He's worse than a clown. He's worse than a joke. He is just an absolute disgrace. He is a horrible piece of human filth. And Donald Trump, Donnie Yes Sir Vladimir Trump, as I call him, he has tapped this man, Rand Paul, not anybody else. This is like tapping Dana Rohrabacher to negotiate with Russia, or tapping Lauren Southern to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. It makes no sense because Rand Paul is basically the only one. He's basically the most prominent figure in the Senate who has defended the Ayatollah. I mean, it's like, it would be like sending Ilhan Omar to negotiate with the Taliban or Hamas or something. It's like, you don't send people that are the most sympathetic to that side to negotiate with that side. It would be like sending a young communist to go and negotiate with Xi Jinping. Oh, and then all of a sudden we're all surprised that the negotiations turned out in China's favor, in communist China's favor. Likewise, by tapping Rand Paul, we should not be surprised if whatever negotiations are conducted, if what comes out of them is more fruitful for Tehran than it is for the West. Actually, that's kind of a joke right there. It'll be 100% lopsided for Iran, 0% for the West. Just as when Trump went over and quote-unquote negotiated with Kim, he got his photo ops. He got to look like a tough guy standing next to a real dictator, somebody who he envies, somebody whom he wants to emulate, somebody whose system he wants to recreate in America. He got his photo op with him. It used to be the Kims, they were desperate to meet with American presidents, and American presidents said no, because they realized that they were the ones who had the upper hand. And they said no, because we're not going to give you the propaganda coup. Whereas on the other hand, Trump basically begged Kim for a photo op. Kim gave it to him. He gives him all the hardcore concessions, the military concessions, and Kim gives him the photo op. So it was 100% lopsided for North Korea, 0% lopsided for America. But it was a 50-50 personally between the two leaders, because Kim got his nukes and legitimized his nukes, and Trump got a cool photo op with a super cool leader in his view. So it was a good thing for Trump. It was a fair deal for Trump because Trump gets to look cool for his base, because his base loves the communist dictators. They love it when he meets with these socialist tyrants because they see Kim as a real leader. This brand of paleo-conservatism. They love the socialist dictators. They love the fascist dictators. They love Assad. Assad is a Ba'athist. That's Arab socialism. You would think that if you're a paleo-conservative, that you would be opposed to these socialists. But no, they love them. They love them. They say, oh, Assad, he protects Christians. What a joke. Anyway, Rand Paul, Rand dumber than Jake Paul, is going to be negotiating with Iran. I wonder how that goes. You know, he's going to go over there. He's going to have all the rose-eyed lust for the Ayatollah. He's going to sit down. You know, he's going to have all the pretenses, the virtue signaling, talk about, you know, how, you know, the evil Americans have wronged Iran, but he comes in good faith and he hopes that, you know, he can apologize and he hopes that, you know, he can be forgiven for being a white American or whatever. And he's going to go over there and, you know, he's going to kiss the ring and he's going to say how, you know, he's sorry that America was so imperialist and he's sorry that America was so quote unquote expansionary or whatever into their region, and he's genuinely sorry. And you know what? He'll get a bigger deal than if they sent somebody else, than if they sent Pompeo or Bolton to negotiate. He'll get a much longer list of accomplishments. Yeah, they will be real accomplishments. They will be real. They will not be rhetorical accomplishments. They won't be statements of intent. They won't be nice, cute, rhetorical little things that both sides agree on, like, oh, both sides met in Tehran and agreed that peace was good. No, they won't. They'll actually be hardcore accomplishments, and all of them, 100% of them, will be hard military power concessions to Iran. America's going to get nothing out of this. America's going to get played. America's already getting played. They shot down a U.S. drone playing America. Trump thought that it was too hawkish to retaliate. The guy doesn't have a hawk bone in his body. He's 100% isolationist pigeon. He will not respond. It's not even a hawk move to retaliate. Retaliating when attacked doesn't make you a hawk. Fighting preemptively, nipping these things in the bud before they become a problem, a bigger problem, makes you a hawk. Retaliating when attacked does not make you a hawk. That just makes you a patriot. That makes you somebody who is doing your job. That doesn't make you a hawk. Yet Trump, again, he's such an isolationist pigeon that anything to him that even resembles a military response is too neocon. It's evil, no good neocon Jewry or whatever. What a joke. What an absolute disaster. Of course he picked Rand Paul. Because the only other option was Tanky Tulsi Gabbard, and she's busy running for president right now. So he couldn't pick her. Those were the two options available. And I guess he could have picked Glenn Greenwald too, or Kyle Kalinske, but they also have jobs and everything going on right now. Whereas Rand Paul's a senator, and everybody knows it's actually pretty cushy being a senator, that you don't actually have to do that much, because it's basically just fundraising. You get your staffers to read the bills, or you get your staffers to do the fundraising too. It can go either way, right? So he knew that Rand Paul was free, and of course Rand Paul loved to do it, because Rand Paul, he loves getting concessions for dictators. That's his thing. That's his legacy. So he's giddy, he's happy, he's stoked, he's hyped that we're going to be reading about him in 100 years in history books the same way that we read about Neville Chamberlain today, because he sees it as a good thing to help out these nationalist, ultra-conservative, fundamentalist emperors out there, whether it's Hitler. I mean, come on, it was his side, the libertarians, the paleocons. They were the America Firsters that literally argued that America should not do anything about Adolf Hitler. They weren't even the Neville Chamberlain types. They were even more egregious than Chamberlain. They wanted to give Hitler even more. That is the intellectual stream from which Rand Paul and his brand of libertarianism and his father's brand of libertarianism blended with paleoconservatism is descendant. These people, Rand Paul, are only going to get us defeat. They will only get 100%, 0% deals. Deals. Trump claims he wrote The Art of the Deal. More like The Art of the Concession. I mean, what a joke. What an absolute joke. And then these guys go around and call liberal hawks and neoconservatives cucks, you know? These are the most cucked isolationists. They're isocucks. They're the most subservient isolationists out there to foreign establishments. Not just foreign establishments, mind you. Because it's not like they're going out of their way to get along with London or Paris. No, they make all their concessions to the worst capitals of the world, to Moscow, to Pyongyang, to Damascus, to Tehran, as we're seeing now. Rand Paul, if you've seen any of his statements about Syria, you'll know that he's on the side of Bashar Assad, the butcher who has slaughtered 600,000 people. Now, 600,000 people, I mean, it's just a number, right? It goes over your head. It's hard to wrap your mind around how many people he's killed to hold on to his Mercedes, his yacht, his palace. I mean, think about it. Think about all those lives. Even if those people only were going to live 1 year longer, just 1 year longer, and most of them were young, so that's not the case, right? Let's just say they were only going to live 1 year longer, and then they were all going to die of natural causes, right? Even if they were living in a free country. He stole 600,000 years of humanity just there. And of course, the reality is a lot of those 20-year-olds, a lot of those 30-year-olds and Syrians, they had a lot of life left in them. I mean, he's probably taken out like 50 million years of humanity, of life, so that he can hold on to his yacht and his palace. He is disgusting. He is filth. He is the most egregious, despotic tyrant. And who do we have in his corner? We have a so-called liberal progressive, Tanky Tulsi Gabbard. Progressive. And we have a libertarian, Rand Paul, Rand dumber than Jake Paul. Imagine being a libertarian. You're somebody who believes in Ayn Rand's writings. So much so that you're almost cult-like about it. You treat it almost as scripture. Yet you forsake and forfeit all of the pretenses of liberty that you claim to so desperately fight for in order to bestow praise and sing the everlasting praises of the most despotic, tribalist tyrants in the world, who are perfectly fine with stealing millions, tens of millions of years of human life so that they can hold on to their palace and their yacht. How disgusting is that? And their power, of course, their personal power and their prestige. These are the most hypocritical people in the world. They are disgraceful. And he's going to be going over there negotiating on our behalf with Iran. Unbelievable, unbelievably pathetic. This is one of the worst moves that the Trump administration has taken. It is a disaster. And Trump, he's in his 70s. He should care about the legacy, right? I know that he thinks he'll get reelected. I believe he probably will get reelected. But at some point, he must want a legacy that's bigger than just bowing down and kissing the ring of foreign emperors. What a disgrace. What an absolute, just complete joke, right? I have nothing but contempt for Rand dumber than Jake Paul and his followers, his sycophants. If you're somebody who's in his corner right now, if you're somebody who's in the Ayatollah's corner, we have nothing in common. I mean, we can have a debate, right, in America, in Canada, in Britain, France, in the West about what should the tax rate be? How big should the welfare state be? Should we privatize social services? Should we have a universal basic income, or should we have a social security net? Should we have a 40% top marginal tax rate, a 30% marginal tax rate, 70% marginal tax rate, or like in Rand Paul's case, I believe he wants a flat tax rate. Like, these are things that we can debate about. We can have a reasonable debate. Even 70% versus 10%, we can have a debate about tax policy. Here's what we're not having a debate about. Should we apologize and sing praise of brutal, despotic tyrants who kill people for voicing dissenting opinion? That's what we're not having a debate about. Here's what we're not having a debate about. Should we retaliate when they attack us? We're not having a debate about that. I have nothing in common with this man. This man is despicable. This man is disgusting. This man is filth. And it is unbelievably grotesque that he's the one, out of the 100 members of the Senate, that he's the one who would be selected to go over to Tehran and negotiate on behalf of the United States. He is the least American. He is the least pro-America. He's the least likely to stand up for America. And if, by some miracle, some agreement comes out of these negotiations that in any way has any clause or concession offered by Tehran that offers a meaningful advantage for America or a meaningful outcome for America, that's not just some cute rhetoric, it will be accidental. It will not be because Rand Paul was such a good negotiator and, he really got the Yankees, he really got the Americans that, that fair deal or whatever. No. He's going into it ready to kiss the ring. He's going into it ready to sing praise. That's what he does. He only knows how to dust the portraits and sing the praises of the great leaders. He's a libertarian. That's all that they do. They love authority. Check out Stefan Molyneux's channel. Check out Jordan Peterson. Check out any of these paleocon libertarian types. They love authority. They love the great leaders. They love the emperors. They aestheticize Japanese imperialism from back in the day. They aestheticize the Nazis. They aestheticize, and now they're aestheticizing Iran, because even though they claim to be Christians and even though they claim to be libertarians, they see an Islamic dictator as more of, I guess, an alpha male or whatever than a Western democratically elected leader. It's an embarrassment. It's a disgrace. Ronald Reagan would be rolling over in his grave right now. Harry Truman, the based, he'd be rolling over in his grave right now. It's disgusting. If you're somebody who actually cares about America, if you have a Western sensibility, if you believe in democracy or secularity, again, secularity, guess what? One of the biggest YouTubers who defends the Ayatollah on a regular basis, he calls his channel Secular Talk. Of course, being a useful idiot, Kyle Kulinski. I mean, he's a clown of the earth. He's a clown of the highest order. These people, they have their little circle jerk of the highest order where they go around, whether they're the left wing or the right wing, and all that they have is effusive praise. We're sending over a guy to negotiate with Iran, and all he's going to do is sing praise. I mean, people thought that it was weak when Madeleine Albright went over to North Korea for Bill Clinton. This is not like that. This is way worse. Again, we're living in the era of cringe, and Rand dumber than Jake Paul, going over to give the Ayatollah everything. That is just another data point that we are living in the era of cringe. And I mean, it's funny, right? Except there will be real world consequences. One such real world consequence is that the Ayatollah not only will have gotten away with these provocations, this belligerence over the last month, but he will have America apologize. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point in these discussions, Rand Paul says something like, "We're sorry we moved our bases near your borders." Some pathetically defeatist, morally duplicitous, false equivalence BS like that. Like the recent tweet put out by the Russian government about how NATO moved its bases towards Russia's borders. As if somehow the morality of the sides don't matter. As if somehow America and Iran, they're just two sports players, and you can pick your favorite, and you can root for the one who's down in this period. No, it's not a sports game. There's a side that represents morality and good and humanity, and there's a side that represents 13th century religious fundamentalism, despotism, brutalism, and inhumanity. They are not equal. Rand Paul does not understand that distinction. In fact, he roots for inhumanity. He blocked assistance for the 9/11 victims just this week. He is an unbelievable monster. He is a disgrace. And the fact that Donnie Yesser Vladimir Trump sends him over there just proves that Trump will not stand up for American and Western interests. And this is one of the reasons that really motivated me to create this channel, was to be a voice of reason out here, calling out these isolationists. Because we really, really need to get Hawks back in the White House, back in 10 Downing Street. We absolutely need the West to get its backbone back. Because right now, the only bones the West has are isolationist pigeon bones. It's pathetic. And I mean, this cannot be over soon enough. That we are losing ground in the battle between good and evil. Every day, the West loses a small placement of its footing in terms of its hegemony over the world. And we are losing, and the darkness is encroaching again. As Robert Kagan said, the jungle is growing back. Nothing is inevitable. We can't just assume that because we're on the good side that we're going to win. We have to actually take this seriously. Rand Paul sending over the clown of the earth, Rand dumber than Jake Paul over there? I mean, come on. If we sent over Jake Paul, he'd get a better deal. Again, he's Rand dumber than Jake Paul. He is dumber than Jake Paul. So I'm just going to wrap this up here, YouTube. So thank you for watching.